Welcome back to Dante's discussion, except this time it's the first Dante's discussion reaction, or response, or retort, or reciprocation, whatever you want to call it. Dante's discussion answers. Either way, the question at hand is Climax bad? Of course, this is for Dark Souls 2 people. And what originated this was Nathorn saying he thinks Climax is bad. Now, Nathorn on my previous video states, still using the climax for punishing people eating moss, I view as a creative and interesting idea. Yes, that's what we're talking about. A lot of people are against Nathorn. In fact, every single person is basically against Nathorn. Let's see, Kyle Lilly here. He says, all I have to say is climax is pretty cheap. This is sort of on his side, though it is easily avoidable, and it's a high risk versus reward deal, just like pairing. Of course, that's what it is. A lot of people have the same sentiments here. Legit games, like everyone is saying, is a pretty big gamble for one, and two, if you get hit by a slow dark magic like Climax and Resident Soul, you haven't played enough PvP. Shots fired, Nathorn. Just putting it out there. JS Pumpkin King. I don't think using Climax is not cheap. I think he means cheap, but I don't think it's using Climax is cheap, since you literally waste all your souls in one shot. So it is like a one-shot deal. Mirzy here, he replies, he says, personally, I have a gank spank build, a lot of people do this, that is not designed for people that summon you in as a red phantom with intentions of 3v1. So it's sort of a punish for people, right? And that's what people like Lord Relic, who is Kyle Lilly, or Mirzy would do, is sort of, if you get summoned in the world and it's 3-on-1, if you get sort of a second to yourself without being just like bombarded with whatever nonsense arrows and spells, you can climax somebody, because usually they're not really thinking about defense, right? They're just thinking about attacking you, killing you dead as quickly as possible. So you can get pretty lucky and climax them to death, at least kill one person. And when you do that, like especially if you kill a person, you replenish your souls and then you can climax again, right? So I mean, it's awesome to punish those gank spankers, because they're just horrible people and should sell their Xbox or whatever console or system they're using. Another thing is, Lord Relic would use a poison moss punish. So he'd make people bleed with his bleed build, and then people would, as I find scrubby, use poison moss to not have damage done to them, even though they were the ones who got poisoned in the first place. And as they were, eat the poison moss, boom, climax right in the face hole. That's what I'm talking about. That's the type of stuff I love. But everybody's saying very, very close to the same thing. I actually even went on the forum of FextraLife.com, and they have a Dark Souls 2 forum, and I posed this question. And this guy, Forum Pirate, says, no, it isn't. Anyone who says otherwise is just whining because they don't like it. I rarely use it except after a parry when they can't avoid it. A lot of other people said, let's see here. What? Climax is always on my attunement slots on my main. It's an amazing punisher in PvP and gets free reloads after fight clubs. That's true. Anyone who says it's bad has probably been the victim of it. Nathorn, you're getting punished hard, man. I'm sorry to put you under the bus here. Another person, NPC Invader. If it kills other players, it can generate hate. Now, this is definitely true. I know, like, every time I kill somebody, it doesn't matter what I use. Like, just about every single weapon I use, it's like, oh, you R1 spam. It's like, well, you got hit by it. What the hell am I supposed to say? Back up or parry me or do something. Or it's like, oh, man, you used Mytha's Bent Blade and daggers are so cheap, with the stone ring. It's like, well, you know what I had. You know what my ability could be. And yet you're complaining about it. It doesn't matter how you beat somebody. Almost every time, it's like 99% of the time, somebody can find some way to complain about it. And one of my favorite things is when people are like, oh, well, this isn't my real build. So they try to take away your win just because it's not their real build. Who the hell cares? Who knows? Just take a loss, people. It's fine. I've lost to the worst players. I've lost to the best players. It's fine. It just happens to everybody. Who cares? Anyways, back to the task at hand here. Another person, Al or A Guyon, says, Resident Soul is already a good spell. I think that Climax isn't worth all the conditions needed to do full damage. In a fight against anyone decent, you'll only get to use the spell once unless for some reason your opponent gives you enough space to use, Soul of a Brave Warrior, and even then, that you're doing is making the soul memory go up. So this guy, I mean, that's the case. So you use it once, and you can't use it again in a one-on-one fight, right? Unless you eat a soul, which is ridiculous if someone else allows you that much time. Of course, you could run away and be a scrub like that and all that. But, I mean, who wants to play like that, right? So, I mean, I think the consensus here is Climax isn't bad. It's part of the game. I'm not sure exactly why it's part of the game, because it sucks against bosses. It's not worth it against. I tried it against bosses, and it just doesn't do as much damage as you thought it should. But, against PvP, it's good, because people usually have around 2,000 life. Some people higher level have 3,000 and up, but yeah, I don't know. It's easy to avoid. That's one. You can't replenish it, so it's risk reward, like Lord Relic said with the parrying. You can't do much about it, and yeah, I don't know. I think the consensus here is Climax is all right. It's part of the game. You should just, if you see somebody with a Black Witch's staff or something that can do dark hexes, then just be wary. Like, don't be terrible. Don't waste all your stamina constantly. Try to avoid. Try to evade. It's just that simple. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, and tell me what you think, and I will be back next week with another Dante's Discussion Answers, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. It's not anything special. There's nothing, no super special things happen, but I hope you enjoy at least some of the things I'm bringing out, some of the logic, if you will, and I'll catch you next week.